Mel, everybody. I'm gonna try this restream live stream thing again, just real quick. Let's see if this works. I maximize the screen. Hopefully, it looks a little bit better than last time. I saw something pretty interesting, really across all the cryptocurrency markets here. In particular, I'm looking at a 2-hour time frame. I almost never do this, but in order to try and figure out what's happening, whether or not you're seeing a trend change potentially, you are really talking about look, pulling up the Ichimoku cloud here on a 2-hour time frame. This is Bitcoin, right? And at a 2-hour time frame, you can kind of see the trend. On the uptrend, you have basically broken back above the cloud, back test the cloud, back test the cloud. And then eventually, if you end up breaking underneath the cloud, that's when the trends start to get exhausted, right? And on a 2-hour time frame over here, back in July 29th or so, we broke underneath the cloud. And then since then, it's just been a pretty vicious downtrend that's been going all the way from like almost 70,000 all the way down to about 48,000, 49,000 or so, right? Throughout the entire downtrend over here, it hasn't even touched the cloud. Like this is like a non-sustainable move. It's just never even touched the cloud. Um, you are getting to the point where we are seeing some potential trend reversal. You have a lot of wicks over here saying there's basically a huge amount of demand over here at the zone. And it bounced, right? It bounced, had a little bit of a ascending wedge, broke underneath the wedge, but it broke inside the cloud. And when it broke inside the cloud, it kind of backtested the bottom of the cloud. Right now, it's just kind of floating inside. And there's a potential because it's inside the 2-hour Ichimoku cloud. There's a potential for it, once you like last time, once you break inside the cloud, you potentially broke underneath of it, sure, but eventually you need to challenge the cloud to get back above. And this really looks like it might be the start of something. The reason why I even showing you this is not because I'm like picking stuff up and this like fits my confirmation bias. I'm seeing this really across all the cryptocurrency market. Look at what XRP just did on the 2-hour chart. It broke inside the cloud, back test the bottom of the cloud, and just bounced. And it just made like a 20% move just now. I don't know whether or not this is for a telltale sign in terms of what could be coming for the other stuff. But look at Solana. Solana also shows some relative strength. It actually already broke through the cloud and might be trying to back test the top of the cloud here a little bit. Chainlink did the same thing, broke inside the cloud, now it's testing the bottom of the cloud. Doge did the same thing, break inside the cloud, testing the bottom of the cloud. Matter of fact, you have a lot of these like demand candles over here. You have like a very, very nice dragonfly candle that's being built up right now. Before that was a doji. So it looks like it really looks like it wants to, break above. Shiba Inu does the same thing. Even like Bonk, is already inside. I'm not even sure if it wants to touch the bottom of the cloud or not. AMP did the same thing. This is like a very relatively small cap coin that I do own. Had a double top over here, broke down, tested the target. Where's the target at? Right at the bottom of the cloud, right? Jasmy inside the cloud looks like a very nice, hammer bottom over here. Like Randor did the same thing. Even ADA, even Cardano is doing the same. Like broke inside the cloud, test the top, test the bottom. Even like a bad coin like Matic that's been just downtrending like crazy is also doing the same. Cody's doing the same. Cortesi is doing the same. Near not quite there, but it looks like it wants to do something similar. The Graft, if the cloud ever pops up, not really quite there, but it looks like it's got like a very, very nice trees at bottom and a very nice potential, dragonfly candle over here. Bar doing the same thing. This is just like maybe not injective, but this is kind of all across different market. Like if I just don't show each of these individually, if I just show the others chart, the others chart is basically the cryptocurrency market top 10 excluding, cryptocurrency market cap excluding top 10, right? Is basically showing you what it's doing. And this is also happening on total, which is the entire cryptocurrency market cap. This is total 2 excluding Bitcoin, and total 3 excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. You know why excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum actually looks more bullish? Because Ethereum is actually lagging behind all of that right now. It tried to enter the cloud, but it just, this downtrend is just really vicious for Ethereum. So it's probably going to end up lagging behind here for a spell. Got rejected from the bottom of the cloud, came back down. But look at all these wicks, like all like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2-hour wicks over here. So far, we have like three, 2-hour candle wicks over here. It really looks like this is like a pretty big demand zone. It really looks like it wants to maybe challenge the top of the cloud here, maybe get rejected down here again, and then find support maybe on the diagonal line over here, find support somewhere over here, and then bounce and challenge. But the rest of the cryptocurrency market is looking, pretty decent here in a lower time frame. I just wanted to bring that to your attention here because I thought it was pretty interesting. But the other things too, like I almost never look at lower time frames, but I was looking at some of the other charts here. Um, Clean Spark. I bought Clean Spark today. Not quite down here, but maybe more up here, and the rationale for me buying really was I think we're at a pretty important support level here. Now I'm going to pull into a higher time frame so that it becomes a little bit more apparent. But let me see here. Yeah, but it really looks like yeah, the Ishimoku cloud is really just kind of confusing here on the daily. It really looks like this is a very important horizontal zone if you just look at history. It really looks like this is, some pretty important horizontal zone here and another wick over here. So I think that this is and that's also part of the reason why it has a volume shelf over here. And it's also very close to one of the, more important Fibonacci levels over here that has some history over here too. So it really looks like it wanted to just, push up and then just kind of back test the volume shelf over here. When it broke down from this big giant volume shelf, the first part it went to was this area over here, and it found support, right? So as it found support, it bounced, and then it bounced, had a little bit of a dead Cantonese cat bounce, hit resistance right here around like 12.6, and then just kind of went back down. And where's it getting support? It's getting support right here in this volume shelf, right? If I look at the entire cryptocurrency market, if it looks like, this actually looks very, very similar to on the lower time frame. It's got that look to it. It's got that decelerating downtrend look to it as well. Like if I just put the Bollinger Band on the hourly, and I don't know why I'm like doing all these lower time frame stuff. On the hourly, it looks like it might be ready to kind of make a turnaround, right? The reason why I say that was because if I just put the wave trend oscillator too, like it looks like it's getting ready a little bit for like a turnaround. The Bollinger Band is squeezing now, and the 20-hour moving average is starting to turn flat, right? So this is usually how things kind of bottom. You have a little bit of doji over here, and another candle over here. This is usually maybe how things are bottom, right around this Fibonacci level, right around here too, right? So I don't know whether or not Clean Spark is going to follow the cryptocurrency market, but it's potential. I think like just looking at the sentiment for my post today when I said I bought like more Clean Spark, and pretty much half the comments like it's going to go lower, it's going to go lower, it's going to go lower. Like I've never really seen people that confident before that something is going to go that lower. They could be right, but I think is at this point is more like a pure guess. Mara actually is looking the same here on the hourly. It looks like you have the Bollinger Band squeezing a little bit. Yeah, you have a pretty nice bounce here towards the close over here. It just kind of went sideways here a little bit. I mean, could this be like a bear flag? Sure, it can be. Could it go down further and back test this fib level down here like it did over here? Maybe, right? But it's also flattening with the 20-hour moving average. And you also basically got like a deceleration look over here to it, right? So yeah, I don't know. Looking at the wave trend oscillator, also looks like it wants to turn too, right? Um, Bit Farms, same thing. Cypher, same thing. Matter of fact, Cypher actually probably looks the most interesting out of them all. It was probably the least bearish of many of the miners, and it is squeezing pretty hard over here, and it looks like the 20-hour moving average is pointing up. And you got a pretty nice like inverted hammer candle over here. So Irene, it looks like it's just like a vicious downtrend, but the trend wave also, it looks like it's turning positive. So maybe a little bit further to go before going up. But I think Irene's, based on the trend wave oscillator, actually doesn't look too bad. Wolf actually looks pretty decent here too. It looks like it's finding some support here at the lower Bollinger Band. BTBT, same thing. So I'm seeing a lot of very similar similarities around here that's on the lower time frame that it makes me wonder whether or not it's maybe turning around the corner here a little bit, right? I can't ignore these like XRP move on the lower time frame with like 20% when the rest of them kind of look the same on, especially on the 2 hour time frame with the Ichimoku. Like I cannot really ignore these possibilities for pretty much like a lot of the altcoins that you're seeing. I don't know what is to come, but I just thought that that was like an interesting thought to that I want to share. Going back to the miners, if you want to look at like the entire time frame, the part of the reason why yeah, it did break underneath the blue line, the red line, the Tenkan indication here, and it sucks, But if you look at the overall thing, I just take out all these fancy indicators. All it really did was that it got rejected off of a couple of higher, Fibonacci levels over here. It's finally back testing the 0.236, which it hasn't done before. It just kind of broke through and it never really back tested this area until now, right? So this is still overall a macro higher low. So this is overall still a bull trend, and everybody's calling it lower. I suppose it could go down lower, but you still have a lot of support zone over here before it goes down lower. Over here, what happened, like a lot of people got really scared because it went from one volume shelf to another. And if it breaks down over here, yeah, it just plummeted down here, right? But a lot of people are calling it for lower, but you have a lot of support underneath. So the reason why a lot of people are calling lower is because they see that these gaps over here got filled. And even like this gap over down here around like 9 or something like that, $9.50 or something like that also got filled, right? And then a lot of people may be eyeing this gap down here around like 7.5 or something like that, thinking all gaps have to fill. I mean, I don't know. Like it looks like it found some support here in the volume show. It looks like there's a lot of support down here below. So I'm not sure whether or not it's going to be able to like go down that far. Matter of fact, it looks like it's just bounced back up and trying to find some support here. Hopefully we're able to get used to this as like a higher low, and maybe we can challenge back up to the range top over here to try and push through. We'll see. But I just look at the cryptocurrency market like on the lower time frame, it doesn't look that bad to me. It just makes me think that hey, this is just maybe a higher low here. We never really had that higher low. Like this could be the higher low compared to that. And next thing you know, this is still a bull trend, right? On the higher time frame, going back to the monthly, I can really not be that bearish if the monthly Bollinger Band, like the low Bollinger Band, is still like all the way down. It's like all the way to the negatives, right? It's starting to curl up a little bit because we're consolidated sideways for a very long time, but this is a very powerful bull trend. And because of how powerful it went from like $1.70, all the way up to like 25, and all of this within like less than a year and a half. Um, I think that it makes sense for it to consolidate a few months and maybe wait for the 20-month moving average to curl up to kind of catch it and push it up higher. That's what it looks like it's doing right now, to be honest. And a lot of stocks actually have a very, very similar look. It just kind of went way too far, way too fast, and it's just doing very, very crazy plummeting down and back testing things. So I cannot really be too bearish on this chart, although it does suck that we have a lot more resistance above now that we have to fight through. So we'll see what Bitcoin has to say. I mean, it ultimately is all what Bitcoin wants to do. So we will have to see what Bitcoin does in the end. But yeah, that's my thought on CleanSpark. Now on Mara, it also sucks that we're underneath both the Tenkan and Kishin, even though the Tenkan looks like it's like upsloping. Looks like the bull market should keep going higher, but we're just way underneath. And these are still resistance above. That's unfortunate. But if you look at the Super Ichi, and I'm not trying to like turn different indicators and say, oh, look at this indicator, it shows this. Look at that indicator, it shows that. I'm just trying to show you. I think the Super Ichi cloud actually tells you a much better story. And that story is that Mara is still stuck in the range. It's still stuck in the blue and the red, the Tenkan and Kijin of the Super Ichi cloud. Got rejected off the last month over here, right? So I would not be surprised at all that at the end of the month it like closes back above the blue line, still stuck in the range. Um, yeah, I think that's the story. So that's why actually I'm not too bearish on Mara either, because it still looks like it's stuck in range. If you are pulling up the Fibonacci level, looks like the big giant flush again. This is still a range, right? Up here at the 0.382 and down here to the 0.136 Fibonacci level. This is a range, right? That's just been going around. I mean, granted, we've been kind of get stuck at the bottom of the range over here for quite some time, but this is still a range, right? So if you're a trader, buying the bottom of the range probably works out very well for you. So anybody who buys like at 14 from like Monday, congratulations. You know, you made a pretty decent gain so far. But so far on the higher time frame, I still see this as more or less like a range. You know, and also if you look at the monthly Bollinger Band, it's getting a little bit tighter because it's consolidated way too long, like 9 months in a row. Even count consolidation over here too, is consolidating over a year. But the important thing is 20-month moving average is pointing up and it serves as support. It serves support this week for this monthly candle. Still early in the month, we'll see how it goes. But I cannot really be too entirely bearish on Mara. What am I thinking about GME? Let me go through all the miners that I want to talk about. Then I'm talking about GME and probably going to end up calling it a night. But Bitfarms doing the same. It's actually stuck in this big giant volume shelf. It hasn't even budged at all. If it plummets down, it'd probably be like $1.20, $1.24. But it doesn't have to, right? Because it's stuck in a range. It's still about the 0.136. And it's basically still a back test of this horizontal range over here of this big giant breakout. It's just basically doing like a second back test. Again, you pull out the Bollinger Band, you do the 20-month moving average, still pointing up. This is still a bull trend overall. Again, I can't really be that entirely that bearish about it. If you do the Supaichi, again, the same. It's kind of breaking underneath the tank in the Supaichi cloud here, but you can see clearly like this is range bound over here. Like it's just bouncing in the range, right? Because it's trying to digest this giant big move all the way from like 37 cents all the way up to like $4. And it just needed some time to kind of digest that move. So overall, it still looks like a bullish structure. I'm not that concerned about it. And again, we'll have to see what Bitcoin does, right? But on a lower time frame, what Bitcoin's doing, it just makes me wonder if, you know, we might be looking more and more decent, you know, over time. Cypher looks like one of the better charts out there. Now, on the Ichimoku, it did break underneath the Kijun, the red line. But same thing, you look at the Supaichi, if I can pull it up. Look at Supaichi right now, it's stuck between, we got rejected over here around like 7.8, around $8. But it's stuck between these two ranges over here. You know, it's above the blue line. The blue line over here, the tank and the stir, is very, very good support overall for like the last 2 years. And it's just stuck in a range. You know, it's trying to consolidate and trying to break out about this like $5.5 range over here. And it was really truly able to break above and then back test it. Then the sky's the limit just because it's really consolidated for a very, very long time. So I am not bearish at all on Cypher. And also right now, just like all the other couple of Bitcoin miners that I was showing you, it's also got really close to a Fibonacci level. And it looks like it's got a very, very big, you know, volume shelf over here as support. So I like where Cypher is at. You know, I think it's probably going to do pretty decent. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really play earnings. So in terms of like CleanSpark, I just think that right now it's at a decent support level. And, you know, I'll keep adding it. If the market keeps giving me opportunities, I'll keep taking it. Because overall, like CleanSpark, really honestly, it just looks like it's trying to backtest this horizontal range over here that it hasn't done yet. You know, so I don't really care. Irene, however you call it, doesn't matter to me. This also looks pretty decent. It looks like it's just back testing this horizontal zone over here after its breakout. And it's a little bit breaking underneath the 0.236 Fibonacci level, which is actually a little bit of a surprise to me. It just looks like it just went for violence and want to go for the volume shelf down here. But I do think that the month most likely end up closing about the 0.236. So we'll see. I mean, the closer you get to the volume shelf down here, the better opportunity you have, right? But this over here still looks very bullish to me. So it's all the matter of perspective. Like it's down like something crazy, like more than 50%, and like what are you saying that looks bullish? Well, these are Bitcoin miners for you, right? Looking at the Bollinger Band, I mean, obviously you see that you have a very nice 20-month moving average just support underneath. Again, I can't really be that bearish on any of these charts, and looking like it's just kind of went straight to the volume shelf over here, and it found supported this big giant volume shelf, right? Which is no surprise at all because price went sideways around these levels for the greater part of like 2.5 years, right? So came back down, back test this volume shelf. It's no big deal. This is still a bullish structure as far as I'm concerned. And I do think that the risk reward would be good, probably anywhere closer to this volume shelf over here. So it's just there's just so many like different ones to buy. Like I don't want to just I'm probably gonna end up like keep slowly just buying it whatever I can. But Terra Wolf. Take a look at what Terra Wolf is doing. Same thing, came back down, trying to test the volume shelf down here. And if you're looking at the let me see if I can pull up the Fibonacci here real quick. I'm just going to do a rough one. Got rejected here, the 0.136, and I didn't really have too many. Let me change the log scale. Yeah, you change the log scale, you can see like it really is bouncing off the 0.382, and looks like the bounce is pretty decent. It's basically already back tested this horizontal zone over here. So I think the thing has to go down lower to like 2 or 3. I mean, I don't think so. Sorry, like around like $2.50 or 2.3, somewhere around there. I don't think so. It looks like it might be it for Terra Wolf, just based on the fact that it's at a horizontal level, just based on the fact that it looked like it really just bounced off of a FIP level at the volume shelf. I don't think it's to test some of the lower volume shelves down here. It looks pretty decent, and the Burma support band is underneath of that, but it's not the end all be all. And also just zooming out here, if you look at the Bollinger Band, it looks like it's still way above the 20-month, and the 20-month is pointing way up, right? So looks pretty decent. Man, you guys have like different requests here. I'm gonna go through a couple other ones here, and then I'll go try to do some of your requests and talk about GME a little bit. Then I'm probably gonna get calling it a night. BTBT looks like it's trying to find support here, a rising 20-month moving average. Right now is 2.69. The price is 2.67 post market. It's just right there. I think again this is still a relative bull trend because the 20-month is pointing up. It's a little bit trendless, but it still looks better than Riot. Let me see if I can pull up the Ichimoku here. Yeah, it's still underneath the red line. But if I look at the Super Ichi, very similar, right? Like it's still a little bit underneath the blue line and Tenkan. And I think by the month close, it's probably going to end up closing above of it. So I started a very, very tiny position on BTBT. I think I'm going to try to build it up here, unless the technical shows any like warning sign. If it just completely just like crap the bed, then I may consider otherwise. But it looks like it's right around like very important support levels. So I'm probably going to end up trying to accumulate BTBT, but maybe keep it like a smaller position. We'll see. HUT 8, what it is really got rejected here at a very important Fibonacci level. Again, as it got rejected over here, as it got rejected over here. But overall, the structure doesn't look bad. Like if you look at the 20-month moving average, it's really reclaiming that and really turn it from resistance over here back to support. So I can't really be that bearish on this chart. If you look at Ichimoku, it's way underneath the Tenkan Kijun. If you look at the Super Ichi, it's way underneath the Tenkan. So it's lagging behind a little bit. But overall, it still doesn't look too bad. I don't think I'll have a position of this. Riot, though, I'm going to talk about this is probably going to be like my last one to talk about in terms of miners, and I'll talk about the other stocks that you guys are requesting. The monthly chart here is a little bit troublesome because it's underneath a lot of resistance no matter what I pull up. It's underneath a lot of resistance, both in terms of the 20-month, these Ichimoku cloud, Super cloud on the monthly. It just hasn't really turned around the corner yet. So I'm going to leave this one alone. There's still got plenty of resistance above, so I'm probably going to leave this one alone. Somebody asked about BitX. It hasn't really been around that long for me to really truly chart it. Plus, this is basically a leverage play of Bitcoin, right? If you're looking at what BitX is doing, I think it's pretty clear. It just basically came back down still to this horizontal zone over here. Let me pull up the volume shelf and see. Yeah, it's not a very good chart because it's leveraged. So whenever it goes down, it's just going to go down like double. You don't have decay. So it's not like a very, very good way to chart it. But if I put the Ichimoku is underneath the cloud over here, but it's not really a very good way to chart this. It is way overextended to the downside though. It's just like what Bitcoin's doing. If anything, is worse than Bitcoin. So I do see at some point, at least, you're going to have some kind of retracement to the mean here, but I don't really have too much to say about BitX. MSTR. You guys asked about MSTR. I'm going to turn off the Bollinger Band here. I'm going to pull up. Basically, what it's doing is pretty simple. It's stuck in a range between the 1.618 and the 0.786 Fibonacci level. If you do a Fib sequence from the cycle top and the cycle bottom, it's just basically stuck in a range right now. It looks better than Bitcoin. It keeps looking better than Bitcoin. Do I like Evo better. Evo's probably a better president. But anyway, you see that it's just kind of stuck in a range over here, but it actually looks better than Bitcoin. Because if you do the MSTR over Bitcoin chart, it's just a big giant bull trend ever since like mid 2022. It's just been making higher highs and higher lows. If you do the MSTR over Bitcoin chart, it just looks like it wants to keep outperforming Bitcoin. And matter of fact, if you just put the Ichimoku and if you turn off the Fibonacci, it bounced right off of both the blue line and the red line over here. Like, it looks like this one wants to run before Bitcoin does. So I don't know like what else to say about MSTR except that it looks better than Bitcoin. And if MSTR looks better than Bitcoin, I really have a hard time being too bearish on Bitcoin, because MSTR is the leverage play, and if the whales know something, they probably exit MSTR before they exit Bitcoin, just like how they did last cycle, right? MSTR went on and made a lower high when Bitcoin went ahead and made a higher high in November 2021. So right now it's outperforming Bitcoin. So I have a hard time seeing like whales probably know something. They probably don't think that the cycle's over yet. So what would rate cuts do for miners? Gosh, I mean, like, honestly, like, the logical thing would be increase liquidity, would be increase availability for companies, growth companies like miners, to take on debt, and also Bitcoin would also theoretically go up in value if there's a rate cut, theoretically, right? But they can twist it any way they want to based on technicals. Right now, Bitcoin is not overextended. Right now, the miners actually, if anything, they're correcting, and some of them might be correcting to the point that people are losing faith. And there's a lot of people who are losing faith. A lot of people are calling these miner stocks to go lower. So it just makes me wonder. Like, right now, a lot of these are basically at the bottom of the range and back testing some very important levels. So I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on all that. LTCN. You want to talk about Litecoin? Yeah, LTCN. Initially I thought it would be able to hold. Obviously, with the cryptocurrency market crash, it did not hold this level over here and just crashed down to, down here to a lower level. Now, if you ask me what this level is, I would say you do have some history over here. This is not as strong a level as it was up here. And it's unfortunate. Let me see if I can grab a volume shelf here. There are not that much data there, unfortunately. But overall, I do think that most likely is going to end up closing back above the Ichimoku cloud. If not, I think eventually it's going to gravitate back to the weekly Ichimoku cloud, because this still looks like a breakout and perhaps a backtest of the weekly Ichimoku cloud. On the monthly, yeah, it's not a great look, but let me see. Yeah, but the volume is plummeting, so I don't know. The lower it goes, the probably the better risk reward ratio. Do I see it potentially going all the way up to like $7 or like $6? It's a possibility. I'm not gonna lie, but again, and I don't chart like Litecoin usually, but I'm gonna chart Litecoin to see what's going on. Yeah, it looks like Litecoin's kind of outperforming that a little bit. Litecoin looks like it's at a volume shelf. Litecoin looks like it's got some pretty decent support over here. If I'm going to turn this off here, I just look at the stupid 2-hour time frame. It's doing what the other cryptocurrencies are doing. It's broken inside the 2-hour Ichimoku cloud, testing a bottom. And again, if XRP is any indicator, then I think that the Litecoin Trust might potentially do pretty decent. Yeah, I see what you're saying. But before I let's see, which time frame are you talking about, Monkey? Are you talking about the higher time frame? Are you talking about the lower time frame for Bitcoin? Uh, you got some random requests that are just coming. Okay, so I probably have to go in like 10 minutes. So first thing first, GME. I'm not going to look at the 2 hour chart, although the 2 hour chart looked very similar to other cryptocurrencies, to be honest. But the thing about the GME chart is the story is at the Ichimoku cloud, and the story is also at the Subishi cloud. I think that right now this is probably going to be where it bounces. It already tested the bottom, that the top of the cloud here, and it looks like it's holding pretty well. Oh, daily. I'll take a look at that in a second. Um, but yeah, like if anything, I think it's still within it's still within the bull support band. You know, it looks like it just went way up and it had to retrace back to the mean, and that's exactly what it's doing right now. And it went back down to test some of the very important support levels that I generally look at. So looks like it is doing pretty good. Initially, I was kind of looking at the daily chart. I was like, it's squeezing pretty hard. Maybe there's a big move coming. Maybe there's something that is, looking pretty potentially pretty interesting here with the Bollinger Band squeezing hard. But it expanded and price ended up going down to the downside on low volume. So who knows? Maybe we're making a very similar move over here, like we did over here, and just a little bit of shakeout before the real move happens. I don't know, but all I can say is that there's still plenty of good support underneath of it, and looks like GME is not that bad looking. If anything, this is still a little bit of a higher low compared to that, right? So overall, it's still kind of just consolidating sideways, and on low. Then this whole downtrend over here has been on declining volume, and the pushes up has been on like high volume. So it does make me think that it doesn't take that much volume to really push the stock higher. Plus, it is at some pretty decent support here on the weekly time frame. So I'm gonna go back to Bitcoin here and look at the daily time frame. I think you might be referring to some kind of bearish divergence here, probably. Yeah, I'm not really seeing any bearish diversions or any bullish diversions. If anything, you had a bullish diversions that happened over here that end up having this bounce up here, but end up, just come back down. So that was the bullish diversions over here with RSI going up. But I'm not really seeing any bearish diversions per se. So I kind of went through Jasmy. Jasmy is well, this is the daily chart. Jasmy is looking pretty good on a lower time frame. I mean, like it's just inside the 2 hour cloud on the higher time frame on the weekly. I like Jasmy. I mean, all it does is really just break out and back test this horizontal level over here. It has some bearish divergence that it had to work out, on the RSI, and that's exactly what it's doing. Made like an ABC. Looks like you got a pretty nice wick over here, so you got some pretty decent support. You're not even really touching the weekly Ichimoku cloud quite just yet. On the 2 week, I'm not really seeing any kind of pattern, just kind of stuck in the middle. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just doing its thing, On the monthly here, it's just kind of underneath the Tenkan Kishin, but you're having a little bit of a katana over here, so who knows what's going to happen. I do think that this is one of the stronger altcoins there are based on what it's been doing. So I'm not bearish on it. I have a position in Jasmy, so I'll keep it. URNM. I have no idea what this is. Sprout uranium miners. Oh man, you have a big distributed top over here, and it worked out. And now you're trying to ask me whether or not you can catch the bottom. You got a very nice hidden bullish divergence over here that's building up here on the weekly time frame. And you can also see that on the 2 week time frame, even on the monthly time frame, you have a very nice hidden bullish divergence where price went up and the RSI just completely reset back down. If you're looking at the volume shelf, it's found support over here. The volume shelf, it broke down from up here and just immediately came down over here. I think this is probably going to be a very, very strong support for the foreseeable future, and it's probably going to end up range bound between like 40 or 38 to like 44, 45. for the foreseeable future is kind of what I'm seeing. Yeah, like you can see that that's what it's trying to do before figuring out a direction after that. So maybe possibly trade the range if you want to trade. I mean, I don't know what you want to do. If you ask me whether or not this thing has bottom, I think it looks like that's probably the bottom over here at the bottom shelf, with Bollinger Band expanding that far, and it's like way outside up the lower Bollinger Band. So good chance this is the bottom. Can it plummet all the way down to this big giant volume shelf down here at like 35? Possibly, and that would be the bottom, I would think. But that would be me calling a bottom, so which probably is a fool's exercise to do. Um, did I answer all of your questions? I think I did. Uh, yeah, no, I just want to do a quick live stream because I saw some interesting things here on the cryptocurrency market. I just kind of want to share my thoughts on the miners here real quick. And yeah, I mean, I was looking at the market here too. I guess I can show a couple of, unfortunately, initially, earlier today, it looked like it was like a very nice dragonfly, candle. Next thing you know, like price went all the way back down to here. Yeah, it's just really, really volatile right now. And so far, the price is even lower. So right now, it looks like a little bit of an inverted hammer. But unfortunate, but you do have a little bit of a hidden bullish divergence going on still. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that this is QQQ. I think QQQ may still have a potential chance for it to close the month above the Tenkan 443. It still has a chance to close above the month. We'll see how it goes. If it doesn't, like the lower level down here, maybe like 415 is what I'm seeing for QQQ. For SPY, again, I think it's found some pretty good support here at the Tenkan around 509.74. If it doesn't hold, it could go down a little bit lower to like 493. That's kind of what what I would see. A lot of people are already saying SPY is going to go down to like the 490s. It's like a certainty thing. So I don't know. Maybe they're right. You should listen to them. You should follow them. So you meant IWM or yeah, that's what I thought you meant. IWM still looks great. I still think that the month's probably going to end up closing about the blue line over here. Blue line is around 203.42. But it's just doing its thing. Market's correcting. If anything, you're still at some very, very strong support underneath. So I'm not really scared by IWM. I think that anything closer to 200 to me is a great opportunity to load up on TNA, which is the triple leverage play that I've been buying. This cycle is just a lot slower than the last. The whole thing is IWM really mirrors the US M2 money supply. I'm going to turn off this RSI over here. I'm going to turn off all these fancy indicators. This is what IWM is doing, and this is what the US money supply is doing. I can try to show you. Actually, let me try to overlay the two. If that's the case, now I'll use these as candles, and I'm just going to add the US M2 here. I think it's just maybe a little bit overextended from the USM2, because if you look at ever since the inception of IWM, it's just been following the US money supply very, very nicely, and I think this over here might just be a little bit of a overextension. It's just maybe a little bit overextension. I just need to kind of correct down here a little bit, but make no mistake about it, US M2 supply is going up. We don't have the data for July and August yet, but I bet it's going to keep pointing up. So maybe we're just kind of a little bit overextended. That's all. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, so I can't really be that bearish on IWM. If you're just looking at the overall market structure, I'm not bearish based on the way that it's looking. Like, you can backtest this horizontal zone as many times as you want, but you look like you want to go higher. So looking at let's see what the bullish band is showing. Yeah, the 20-month is nicely pointing up. Like, everything still looks very bullish to me. If I look at a weekly time frame, if I look at put up all the, yeah, it's got a nice bull trend. I mean, anyway, it wants to do its thing. I don't care. I'm gonna, as it gets closer to 200, I'm gonna try to buy as much like TNA as much as I can, and then we'll go from there. So, all right, getting close to that mark. I think it's a good experiment to do a live stream both on YouTube and on X. I hope you guys enjoy it. Have a wonderful evening, and